Now we'll talk about the decision to make or buy. So when we think about the make or buy decision, what we're really thinking about is, should we produce a product ourselves, or should we outsource the production to another company? So I want to give you a couple of examples of this. So for example, if you're a computer manufacturer, and so you're manufacturing computers, do you manufacture every single element of that computer yourself? Maybe you buy the computer chips from someone else. Maybe you buy the screen from someone else. All of those decisions are saying, should we produce every element of this product ourselves internally? Or is there some amount that we're going to outsource and have another company make for us? Another example, maybe a less common example, is the accounting function. So if you think about a company like, Schnucks Grocery Store. So Schnucks Grocery Store can decide, do I want to have an accountant that works for Schnucks? So I'm going to say our Schnucks accountant. And that accountant only works for Schnucks and does all the accounting for Schnucks. Or should we hire an accounting company? And the accounting company is going to have lots of different clients, and we're going to be just one of those clients. But the question is, are we going to produce our accounting information internally with our own accountant? That's the make in make or buy. Or are we going to hire someone externally? That's the buy, to produce the accounting information we need, the financial statements, whatever. And that's considered the outsourcing part of it. Okay, so it doesn't have to be a manufacturing company for this make or buy decision. We typically use manufacturing companies as an example. So like our computer company, should we make the computer chip ourselves? Should we have someone else make the computer chip and we'll just buy the computer chip already made? So this decision to make or buy applies to all companies. All companies. Even service companies. So companies like an accounting firm, they can make decisions that are we going to make this ourselves? Are we going to buy it from somebody else? So in this chapter on short-term decision making, what costs will we consider? We're going to consider for our make or buy decision the relevant costs. And we define the relevant costs as the costs that matter. Okay? So the short-term decision-making problems tend to have more information provided than what we really need to solve the problem. So there's frequently some distracting information, some additional numbers that are not all relevant to our decision on what we're going to do next. Okay? So we consider incremental costs, and we're going to define incremental costs as costs that are different. They have to be costs that are different under alternate choices. And then I'm just going to add here costs that are the same. Costs that are the same under alternate choices are not incremental. They're not incremental. So here's an example of what this means. I'm going on a trip, okay? And I'm trying to think about what it's going to cost me to go on this vacation. And so I'm going to have option 1 is the trip, and option 2 is I just stay home. And I'm comparing all the costs of going on the trip. And so if I go on the trip, I'm going to have hotel costs. And they're relevant because if I stay home, I won't have those costs. And then I'm going to have, let's just keep it as simple as we can, some costs to do fun things like some tickets to a show or an amusement park. And if I don't go, if I stay home, I won't have those costs. And then finally, let's think about food. So food's the tricky one here because if I stay home, I also eat. Okay? So food is the one that's a little bit kind of on the fence. The hotel is an incremental cost. If I don't go on the trip, if I stay home, I don't have any hotel costs. The tickets are an incremental cost. If I stay home, I won't be buying the tickets. The food is partially going to be incremental. Let's say I spend $20 per week on groceries normally. But when I go on the trip, I'm going to spend $100 for the week. The $80 increase would be considered the incremental cost. That's what's different. What's different is if I go on the trip, I have $80 more in food than I would have if I stay home. I'm not going to consider all $100 because then I'm not really comparing apples to apples and being fair. I need to consider the fact that I eat at home and that's going to cost me $20 per week. So the incremental cost of going on the trip in terms of food is only the $80 increase in food costs. All right, then we just have the relevant benefits. We're just going to call this the incremental reward. The incremental reward from choosing one option over another. The incremental reward from choosing one option over another. In this section, when we're talking about short-term decision making, all of our answers boil down to this last bulleted statement. We must understand the situation our client is faced with, quantify the situation into incremental costs, and assess the total impact of the alternative.